What is going on, everybody? Welcome to a Friday edition of Coming Off the Bench, a post-Thanksgiving edition of Coming Off the Bench. Excuse me. Thank you guys so much for coming out here on your Friday afternoon. And before we get started, I just want to say thank you guys so much for all of your support. You guys have been absolutely killing it. We're up to 950 subscribers. We're slowly getting to 1,000 subscribers. So I just want to say thank you guys so much for your recent support. And this channel has hit a very big milestone because as of today, Benchwarmer Sports, the channel, has officially passed 250,000 views in total on this channel. I just want to say thank you guys so much for coming out here, for viewing this channel, for subscribing, for liking, for engaging with me throughout the years as we've done this show. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. I couldn't do it without you guys. You guys are a big reason as to why I do this in the first place. So thank you guys so much for all of your support. You guys have been absolutely amazing. So what we got in store for you guys today, we're going to be previewing the Browns-49ers game. We'll be talking about that. And then we're also going to be getting into probably the story of the week so far with the Browns. I don't know who came up with this. I don't know what the heck happened. But is Kevin Stefanski sabotaging Shedeur Sanders and his career? We're going to talk about it. I need to debunk all this crap because this talking point has taken not just Browns media, but sports media as a whole. And we got to talk about it. We got to just nip it in the bud right now because it is absolutely ridiculous, but that's going to be later on in the show. But once again, guys, thank you so much for your support. If you guys have not hit the like button or subscribed yet, make sure you guys hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. We're at 950 right now. So make sure you guys do that. And without further ado, you guys ready to get into the first segment? We're going to be talking about the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns are going to be taking on the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday here at Huntington Bank Field in Cleveland, Ohio. And a lot of people are looking forward to this game. A lot of people have the Browns actually coming out here and winning. And I kind of agree with it. I think that this is a very winnable game for the Browns on Sunday because you're going to have weather conditions are not going to be ideal, right? The weather conditions for this game are not going to be nice. They are going to be absolutely miserable. They're going to be high winds, rain, snow, wind coming off of Lake Erie. This is going to be a very, I would probably say if you guys remember 2020 and the game with, I think it was either the Eagles or the Texans, where it's just the wind was absolutely out of control. The rain was out of control. I'm expecting another type game like this, and this is going to be in the Browns' favor, right? We hear all the talk about how, being on the lake and having the weather as a factor, as a bonus for the Browns. This is the one case where I actually feel like this is actually plausible. I definitely think that the weather is going to play a massive part in this game. I definitely think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think before this game has started, I think I saw that the line or the over-under for this game was like 36.5. I would definitely bet the under. I think this is a 17-10 type game. This is not going to be a slug him out, touchdown every other play game. I would be shocked if that's the case. But this is definitely going to be a game where it is going to be it's going to be a fast game because I think both teams are going to be probably running the football a lot, especially with the wind and the weather. I definitely think Quinshon Judkins is going to get the ball a lot. I think Christian McCaffrey is going to get the ball a lot. I think Dylan Sampson is probably going to get some screen passes here coming out. But to me, the Browns are can definitely win this game. They can definitely win this game. It's not out of the realm of possibility. I think the Niners are coming in as a 5.5-point favorite. I think that line has moved up since like Monday. I think Monday they opened up as like 4.5, and I think it's moved up a point. But, even with all of the injuries that the 49ers have suffered this year, Nick Bosa, Michael Williams, all those guys on the defensive end, they're still a good football team. They're 8-4 right now. But the one thing that the Browns can really, rely on in terms of, making the 49ers, not as, prolific of a team, right? Brock Purdy has not been great. He has not been great this year. I think he had, 3 turnovers last week against the Panthers. He had like a lot of turnovers last week against the Panthers. The Browns have an opportunity with this defense, and especially Myles Garrett. The matchup of the game on Sunday is going to be Myles Garrett versus Trent Williams. That is going to be absolutely outstanding to watch. So make sure you guys are staying tuned for that, because Trent Williams is probably the best left tackle in all of football, probably one of the best left tackles of all time, going up against probably the greatest defensive player of all time. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch to see how that works. But the Browns, if they're able to cause turnovers and cause havoc for Brock Purdy will turn over the football. He will turn over the football. The Browns just need to create pressure like they've been doing. That front seven has been absolutely outstanding when it comes to creating pressure. You got Malik Collins, Mason Graham, Alex Wright. I don't know if Alex Wright's going to play, though. But Isaiah McGuire, Myles Garrett, Devin Bush, Carson Schlesinger. You got a ton of guys who can go in there, cause havoc, create pressure, force Brock Purdy to throw, and maybe you get some interceptions out of it. You get Denzel Ward, you get Grant Delpit, you get Tyson Campbell. Maybe they step up and get a pick for you and cause some turnovers. To me, that is a very, very, very successful strategy for the Cleveland Browns in order to try and win a football game on Sunday in those types of weather conditions. Because again, if you guys have seen the a lot of the stats that have been coming out that a lot of Browns people have been talking about is that Kyle Shanahan against Jim Schwartz defenses in his last 10 games, he's 1-9. He's 1-9 in the last 10 games against Jim Schwartz defenses. So that is going to be, a very interesting, thing going forward and going into this game, is just to see how Kyle Shanahan is going to try and, work around Jim Schwartz's defense, right? That is going to be an interesting thing to watch. Now, on the flip side with Shedeur Sanders, it's going to be interesting to see how Tommy Rees and Kevin Stefanski game plan for Shedeur Sanders, because he's going to come in here with, it's going to be very bad weather conditions. What are the Browns going to do with Shedeur Sanders making his second NFL start? Well, you're going to have to probably make everything quick passes like we saw with Dylan Gabriel throughout the majority of, his time. Maybe he can take 1 or 2 deep shots the entire game. You're going to have to tell him, hey, see how the ball travels in the air on Sunday before the game starts. Can you fight through the wind? Where's the wind coming from? Look at the Phil Dawson flag in the corner of the stadium. Where's the wind blowing? Can you cut through the wind? It's going to be a very interesting thing that Shedeur Sanders is going to have to deal with, because if the weather pans out, the Browns are going to have to go back to probably the Miami Dolphins game plan, which is just give Quinshon Judkins the ball, let him do his thing. And then we're going to be talking about later on, some people are probably not going to like that, because people are going to be unhappy that Shedeur Sanders is not going to have the ball in his hands throughout the entire game. But with weather permitting, the weather circumstances that are going to be happening, this looks like it's probably going to be a game for Quinshon Judkins to absolutely ball out. And it's going to be up to the offensive line to block well. The defensive line for the 49ers is definitely banged up, but they're still a very good defense. Shedeur is going to be going up against a much better defense than he did against the Raiders. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Shedeur Sanders handles that type of pressure and handles that much of an improvement when it comes to a defense. We'll see what's going on with, with Shedeur Sanders closer to game time. But to me, the Browns can definitely win this football game. It's not out of the realm of possibility. The Browns absolutely have a shot to win this game. And you could probably say it's pretty important that they win this game, because we're in the hunt. We're in the hunt. Somehow, someway, the Cleveland Browns are in the playoff hunt. Right down there at the bottom of your screen. 3-8, the Cleveland Browns. Somehow, we're not done yet, baby. We still got a shot. There's still a pulse. There is still a pulse. So, again, with the Ravens losing yesterday, the Steelers losing on Sunday, the Browns are only, if they win on Sunday, that is, if they win on Sunday, they're only 2 games back of of uh, of maybe taking first place or being tied for first place in the AFC North, which is absolutely insane to think about. And again, this is like I'm not saying the Browns are going to go to the playoffs. No, we're not going to the playoffs. No chance in hell. I'd probably say it's less than 1%. I would be shocked if the Browns ever go on a run to make the playoffs this year. But it's just fun to think about, because 3-8, you're still sort of in it. You're sort of, you're really not, but you're sort of in it. It's just fun. But it's a very important game, because if the Browns do win and everything goes your way on Sunday, if the Steelers lose on Sunday, a couple other teams, a couple other games go your way, maybe you do have a legitimate pathway to go and maybe try and try your luck at trying to go and get in, sneak into the playoffs. You could probably do a Washington Commanders type situation in 2020, where the Commanders were 7-9 and somehow they make the playoffs and they face, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the playoffs. Maybe that could happen. It could happen. Who knows? But to me, again, the best way for the Browns to win this football game on Sunday, going back to the football side of things and not the fairy tale Browns playoff aspirations, going back to the football, if the Browns are able to cause Brock Purdy to turn the football over, they're able to stop Christian McCaffrey on the run, who's not as much of an athlete or prolific of a player as he was a few years ago, the Browns are going to have an opportunity to stay in this football game at least. They have an opportunity to stay in this football game at least, because the defense is going to do their job. We already know the defense is going to do their job. Even if Myles Garrett, I think, is stymied by Trent Williams, which I think is probably a possibility that he could be stymied, you still got other guys on the front seven, like Mason Graham, Malik Collins, Isaiah McGuire, maybe Alex Wright if he comes back. I don't know if he's going to come back. Carson Schlesinger, Devin Bush. You still got guys in that front seven who can cause a lot of havoc and get to the quarterback. And, with having Myles Garrett out there, can cause a lot of these guys and open up a lot of opportunities for these guys to, to make an impact on Brock Purdy, force him to throw, and you get an interception, maybe you cause turnovers, cause havoc. That's basically what the Browns defense does. They just cause havoc, right? So that's definitely a possibility. And then on the offense side of the football, take care of the football of your Shedeur. Do not be lulled into throwing the deep ball every single time. Try and watch and take what the defense gives you and hand the football off to Quinshon Judkins. Let him do his thing. And maybe somehow, some way, the Browns come out of Sunday with a win against the 49ers. That's, to me, the best recipe for success on Sunday for the Cleveland Browns. So, anyways, that's just my opinion for the Browns and 49ers game. Adam T2R9T says, you think we can beat the Niners? Yes, I do, Adam. I definitely think that the Browns have a shot. I would probably say I'm 65-35 Niners are going to win, but the Browns definitely have a shot to, win this football game. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that the Browns, win this football game, especially with how Brock Purdy has been playing, and especially with the weather that's going to be happening at Huntington Bank Field on Sunday with the rain and the snow and the wind. It's going to suck down there. It's going to be miserable on Sunday, but I think that works to the Browns' advantage. But you also have Shedeur Sanders making his second NFL start. We'll see. There's going to be some ups and downs. It's not going to be a pretty game. I'm just warning you guys right now. It's not going to be a pretty game. So do not expect any sort of fireworks to come out on Sunday. And if there is, then you know what? Fair play. Fair play to Shedeur, fair play to the Browns, and fair play to anyone who can make big plays, through the air on Sunday. But all right, it seems we have no other chats, no other questions. Let's get on to the second and final segment of the day, which is we're going to talk about, this is a fun segment, guys. This is a fun segment. You guys ready for this one? So, let's talk about it, huh? This whole narrative that has been absolutely bombarding my timeline on Twitter, that I've seen on ESPN and other sports shows, sports talk, everything. This whole narrative is about is Kevin Stefanski sabotaging Shedeur Sanders. And I cannot emphasize this enough when I say this is the dumbest, stupidest freaking argument I've ever heard in my entire life. This is the dumbest thing I have ever heard. Because I don't know who started this. I don't know what. It's whoever was in the sycophantic Shedeur camp came out here on Sunday or Monday. It might have been Josina Anderson for all we know. I'm pretty sure I saw it first from Josina Anderson. But that somehow, some way, the Browns are sabotaging Shedeur Sanders by not giving him the football. They're causing, Shedeur Sanders to not get as many reps, and that Kevin Stefanski hates Shedeur Sanders. He hates him so much to the point where he's taking reps away from him in the red zone because he doesn't like Shedeur Sanders, and he's giving the football to Quinshon Judkins in the red zone when it's goal to go, and he just hates Shedeur Sanders. It's the dumbest argument I've ever heard in my entire life. The Browns have used the Wildcat formation with Quinshon Judkins during the Dolphins game. They used it twice. They scored touchdowns. They used it again during the Raiders game. They did it twice. They scored 2 touchdowns out of it. So the Browns, 4-0 with touchdowns with Wildcat drives. They're 4-0. This is where I made my video a couple weeks ago, maybe even last week, about the Shedeur Sanders conversation in the media. When you have media members, and I called out specifically like Rex Ryan, who's on the anti-Shedeur Sanders part of the media, with Josina Anderson, who's in the sycophantic side of the Shedeur Sanders media. When you have guys in the media who are, or people in the media who are actively pushing, not even analysis, but you're actively pushing football takes without any sort of football, topic or any football analysis regarding your takes with Shedeur Sanders. And this is why a lot of people didn't want to take Shedeur Sanders, because of all the stuff that surrounds him. And it's not because of him. Like Shedeur Sanders does not have any control over what, Josina Anderson or any of these other like Shedeur Sanders sycophants, say on social media. And I'm not blaming Shedeur. But the people who are doing this are absolutely not making a good look for Shedeur, right? If you do something in the name of someone else, if you say, I'm doing this because I want to do this for this person, it's not going to look good for that person with what you're doing, right? That's what like people like Josina Anderson are doing. And I saw a lot of Browns fans were talking to her in her mentions about saying like, hey, like she basically was saying that the Browns are sabotaging Shedeur by taking the ball away from him in the red zone when like you need red zone revs for Shedeur. You're giving it to Quinshon Judkins, and then basically the Browns are just doing this because Kevin Stefanski hates Shedeur Sanders. And this is my problem. When you have people who say this, who have a lot of influence in sports media, when you have a lot of influence in just media in general, your opinions get amplified by a 1,000 or however many, followers you have. They get amplified to being like a leading voice. And so when Josina Anderson or some other person comes out here and says, the Browns are sabotaging Shedeur Sanders, Kevin Stefanski doesn't like Shedeur Sanders, like you got Cam Newton, for example, right? Cam Newton on ESPN on First Take saying, Kevin Stefanski doesn't like Shedeur Sanders. The Browns need to get rid of Shedeur Sanders and trade him to some team that actually likes him and have a coach that actually likes him. Like, are we talking about football here? Are we actually talking about football? This is what it annoys the living crap out of me, guys. It annoys the living crap out of me because you are not, this is not sports talk. It's not analyzing football. This is putting out your biases and your preconceived notions and, putting it onto someone else to make your point of view seem correct. And to me, the reason why I'm talking about this, I wouldn't even be talking about this if this was just a one-off thing. This is the dumb part. I wouldn't be talking about this. I wanted to make this a segment on my show, coming on the show, saying, if this was just like, oh, okay, some like random guy on Twitter said this, right? But when you have people in prominent positions of sports media, like Josina Anderson, like Cam Newton, a former player, former MVP, a Super Bowl, a guy who played in the Super Bowl, a college national champion. When you have guys who are saying that, when you have people of that stature saying this stuff, it causes more people who maybe not, in the loop of what's going on with the Browns, who maybe, who already probably have biases against the Browns because the Browns have been so bad for the last 30 years that people are like, oh yeah, that makes sense. The Browns don't know how to treat a quarterback. So, we'll just, that's probably true. Kevin Stefanski doesn't know how to, hasn't had a really good quarterback. You know what? The whole narrative around Baker Mayfield with the trade and, him playing hurt and then the Browns trading for Deshaun Watson, that doesn't make me like Kevin Stefanski either. So, you know what? What Cam Newton is probably saying is probably true. What Josina Anderson is saying is probably true. That's my issue with this, is that there's no football argument to be made that Kevin Stefanski is sabotaging Shedeur Sanders. Even Shedeur Sanders came out here this week saying, we have a relationship like a coach and a player. We're cool. We're good. But then you have people out here on social media saying, oh, Kevin Stefanski sabotaging Shedeur Sanders. And again, I said I would not be making this a segment or a video. Right. I would not be making this a video if it was just one person on Twitter. If it was just a random person with like 25 followers on Twitter, right? Not be making this argument or not be making this video. But when you have people like Cam Newton, Josina Anderson, more people in the media coming out here and saying stuff like this, and just making false narratives, when it's clear most of these guys don't even watch the football games, don't even watch Shedeur Sanders play football. They see the highlights, and then they see a couple of takes on Twitter about how people think Shedeur Sanders played, or about the situation with Shedeur Sanders and Kevin Stefanski, and then they make their and then they just make their takes, right? This is the problem. That's the problem. So, again, Kevin Stefanski, I'm going to say it again. Kevin Stefanski is not sabotaging Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur is not this best quarterback that's ever lived, right? He's a promising rookie who needs to develop. Kevin Stefanski and the Browns are trying to help him develop. The Wildcat argument about taking the ball out of Shedeur Sanders' hands in the red zone is just absolutely ridiculous, because the Browns have ran the play 4 times, and all 4 times it has led to a touchdown. They're going to continue to do that. Any way you do it, it leads to points. They're going to continue to do that. Can you make an argument that Shedeur Sanders probably should have had more reps coming into this season, and that Kevin Stefanski probably crapped the bed when it comes to having this 4-man quarterback competition, and Shedeur Sanders was the odd man left out? Yeah, you can criticize him for that. I've criticized him multiple times on this channel for that. I've criticized him multiple times on this show for that. But to sit here and to say on social media and on ESPN, to say that Kevin Stefanski hates Shedeur Sanders and that Kevin Stefanski is sabotaging Shedeur Sanders' career is absolutely fucking insane. It's fucking insane. And I do not understand how many people are falling for this narrative. I really don't. You guys are going to have to explain it to me in the comment section or in this chat. You guys have to explain it to me how you guys believe, or if you guys even believe or agree with what these guys are saying. I don't know, but I do not understand how people can watch these football games, watch, and pay attention to what the Browns are doing, and sit here and say that Kevin Stefanski is somehow sabotaging Shedeur Sanders. It makes no sense to me. It's not true. But when you have people in high, in people in high places when it comes to sports media and supposedly supposed to be sports analysis, that is where I have the biggest issue. That's why I need to make this video. I wanted to make this video because we need to just be better at analyzing this stuff. This is not football. This is not talking about football. This is talking about personalities and biases that you want to put onto other people to make your narrative somehow come true. This isn't analyzing the evidence. This isn't analyzing the football play on the field or the strategies of these coaches. This is just about personal biases, personal vendettas. This is why it just makes me so freaking upset when I see these people who are supposed to be powerful and people of high esteem in sports and in sports media, and they consistently put out false crap that many people believe. And it's causing way too many people to make dumb arguments and accusations when it comes to the Browns, when it comes to Shedeur Sanders, and it makes Shedeur Sanders look bad. Guys, you're doing the exact opposite of what you guys are trying to argue. You guys are trying to say, we're trying to help Shedeur Sanders. We're trying to be the white knight for Shedeur Sanders. You guys are making him look worse to a lot of the casual people. I'm just telling you guys right now, if you guys are in my chat and you guys are pro Shedeur Sanders, like sycophantic Shedeur Sanders fans, you guys are making him look worse with some of the arguments that you're trying to say. Okay? So again, this is the problem. Again, the problem I have. You guys, the people in the media like Cam Newton and Josina Anderson, you guys just don't listen to these guys. Just do not listen to these guys because they have made their cases very clear that they are not looking at the Shedeur Sanders or the Kevin Stefanski and the Browns situation with Shedeur Sanders. They're not looking at it with a football analysis. They're not looking at it with a journalistic analysis. They're looking at it at a place of bias, at a place of, trying to, of fandom to an extent, I would say. They're fans of Shedeur Sanders. That's fine. You could be a fan of Shedeur Sanders, but do not be a fan of Shedeur Sanders and, constantly try and, ruin his reputation by saying, oh, I'm a fan, therefore I'm going to say the most outlandish stuff to, try and, promote and protect his career. And, that's just, to me, that's a step too far. And for people who are supposed to be in high regards in sports media and as sports athletes like Cam Newton, that's the biggest issue I have. And it's causing a whole lot of dumb arguments, and it's causing a whole lot of people to believe that these arguments are somehow real and that this stuff is actually going on behind the scenes. That's my issue with it. Those are my 2 cents. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. Please, let's just do better, guys. Come on. Let's just do better. Can we just actually do some football analysis? Let's just do that. How about that? Okay, guys. Those are the 2 segments I had for today. I know it's a little bit of a shorter show, about half hour. How's the who? What's going on, man? I think if Shedeur shits the bed against a much better team, we will have a better idea. There's a lot of rumors that Haslam wants to clean house, so wouldn't be surprised if Stefanski isn't trying. Well, I don't know about that. I would say that I don't think Stefanski's not trying. I don't think that's the case. I think Stefanski is probably going to try because he's going to have to audition for his next head coaching job if that's the case. And we did a video the other day about, that report about Stefanski trying to clean house, or Haslam trying to clean house. You guys can go back and watch that video. And you guys have been absolutely killing it on that video, by the way. We're up almost at 1,000 views on that video, so thank you guys so much for that. But Stefanski is probably trying. I would say he's probably trying because he's going to have to, if that's the case, and that Haslam's going to clean house, And like I said in that video, we were talking about the report. All those reports said either both of them are gone or Andrew's staying and Kevin's gone. There was no like saying, hey, maybe Kevin can stay and Andrew can go, or they both stay. No, it's everything seems like it's either they're both going or Kevin's going and Andrew's staying. I haven't seen anything else, around that report, which is kind of insane because I said that too. It's like no one else is talking about that report. Like, guys, it's kind of insane. Like NFL GMs are saying, hey, like Haslam wants to clean house, and maybe Kevin is probably going to be the only one going if he decides to keep Andrew Berry. So I don't know why people aren't talking about it, but you guys can go back and watch my last video where I talked about that report, and I go more in depth with my views on that in the report. But yeah, guys, I mean, sorry for a little bit of a shorter show, but just wanted to get those two topics out there. Hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. Like I said, thank you guys so much for all of your support. We're at 950 subscribers. Make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. You guys have been absolutely killing it lately with all of the support. I cannot thank you guys enough. I'm thankful for you guys, the viewers, and also thank you guys so much because we hit 250,000 views on the channel. If you guys have not heard my initial part of the stream or part of the show, we've hit 250,000 views on this channel. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. You guys have been absolutely killing it. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for all the support you've given me and this channel over the years. You guys are absolutely awesome. But once again, hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. We're at 950 right now. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. We're going to be back Sunday after the Browns-Niners game doing the live post-game show. And then we're going to be back here Monday at noon Eastern for Coming Off the Bench. We'll be talking about the Browns-Niners game and much, much more. Make sure you guys are staying tuned for that. Hit the bell notification so you guys are notified when I go live.